Zhenya Bakirova presents a series of discussions about the place of Kazakh culture in the global world. Meetings with prominent public figures, candid conversations, collisions of opinions, and discussions about the most important things.
Hello, dear friends. Our guest today is Barzhan Shukenov. It is a great pleasure for me to be talking to Barzhan Shukenov today. Barzhan is a musician at heart, and also these days, he is doing a lot to develop the film industry in Kazakhstan. He has extensive experience in various spheres of culture, and he is able to debate about our culture in a very qualified, competent, and balanced way. I would like to ask you, what's in your heart right now? What are you emotionally worried about? We are all living people, right? We all have these periods of ups and downs. So, what is happening to you now?
It is a very unexpected question. Well, what bothers me? First of all, I am worried about this new generation of people and this fashionable phenomenon as culture.
Industry.
Creative industry.
Production.
Yes, exactly. I'm worried about how can we fit into this narrative. This is probably one of the most important issues. I just want to make sense of this moment. Let's say so. Hope I answered your question.
These days, we see that a classic repertoire is being adapted, remade, transformed into these modern forms. New arrangements are being made. For example, with rock musicians. Or there is a video installation added to the performance. National instruments can be featured in performance, as well as the band rhythm. So different types of arts are now being blended. The boundaries are blurred and something new appears.
Чтобы разные виды искусства как бы не разделять, а вот именно объединять и создавать что-то новое вот именно.
The thinking is changing. It becomes modern. This means a change of eras is near. How ready are we to accept the new reality? And why do you make these festival films, organize screenings of Kazakh art films? Honestly, sometimes I attend your festivals, and I can't always understand. This is not my field. It can be difficult.
Не специалист, тяжело.
I think you know what is really happening here. As you've put it beautifully, it is the change of eras. It really happens. It's serious, and before this can happen, there should be a search. We spend time on things like festivals because we want to give these young people an opportunity to present themselves, to speak up. These people are inclined towards experimentation. Due to the fact that they were born into a new age, they are able technology users, so it allows them to broaden their horizons to incredible dimensions. Things like that are subject to theorizing. They become a theoretical foundation. And people should search for meaning when the eras are changing, when we are looking for new directions everywhere. But of course, the basis to all of this is the classics.
Конечно, все это в любом случае основано на классике.
The basis?
На какой-то базе, которая является основой.
Yes, this basis becomes a foundation that allows us to broaden the horizons of culture, and not only music, cinema, but art in the whole.
Но и кино, вообще всего искусства.
You need to look for this, and this search is easier for those who have less luggage than we do. They can move forward faster.
Они быстрее идут вперед.
С эпохой интернета, с появлением интернета...
With the introduction of the internet, some new opportunities have appeared, opportunities that can help people to become globally famous overnight. I know that several of our documentary makers work with American stars. These directors have stepped outside the boundaries of Kazakhstan. They did not stop them, and they became famous. But for us, these are people we are not familiar with. So what do you think of these technologies?
Что вы думаете об этих технологиях?
Ну, на самом деле, Женя Михайловна, вы
You have just raised the most important question.
об этом вот подняли, потому что, да,
Because yes, the question is how to become known to the world.
Вот сейчас
Creative things are very popular in culture today.
культуре, да, они очень популярны, там, молодежь, там, например,
Young people, for example, claim that culture is the 21st century's oil. And in reality, the market, with its laws, is becoming an integral part of our culture. Why? Because the needs of people in terms of culture are growing constantly. We often talk about the negative impact of the internet and so on, but a huge number of people find a lot of positive in it. And I think that there should always be a place for us there, right? That we must be not only able to create our own product, but also be able to sell it and make it interesting to the world. Because a country, a region, they cannot exist in alienation. New ideas need to be moved forward, and these ideas are constant. They are endless.
Are we able to do that? Are there any positive experiences?
Положительные опыты.
Well, yeah. Look at those young musicians who now work in our foreign bands. This has been happening for quite some time. Our conductors work with large teams, but I believe that the main driving force is based on the creative presentation of what we have here.
The idea and content of this potential product itself is the most important thing. But are there forces that can promote them? Or should we be in charge of this in our country?
See, I think that those who can promote are more important. There is a need for the emergence of a new management in the cinema, or in culture even, in our arts. The emergence of a new galaxy of young people who can, who know, and who is fond of it.
Who knows how to promote it?
And those who know how to promote it, yes. This is a very serious matter. Participation in various film markets, the biennial, those huge festivals where culture should be represented at its fullest, where it should be presented as diverse as possible. It's not just about presenting ourselves. It is also about this feeling of belonging to this global culture. Exactly.
Are you familiar with the experience of France? I first visited France in 1983, and since then, my interest has never subsided. What is happening there?
You see, there are different support systems of cinema or the existence of cinema. Well, Hollywood is global.
So they don't have the ministries that regulate this business?
There are no ministries. Everything is regulated through market relations. The studios that are now dictating their standards to the whole world are huge corporations that shape trends. They design technologies and so on. State regulation in France initially was counterweighted by this market. And that is how they managed to develop and build their own system.
They managed to develop it.
After all, they now solve a great deal of problems that exist in modern French society.
So they managed to deal with it.
And it's incredible. When the cinema is the conductor of those issues, those unresolved problems that exist in society, it is amazing. What is the most interesting is the fact that French cinematography doesn't spend a penny of budget money.
Meaning that the Ministry of Culture can only play a role of a manager or an advisor on legal matters, right?
Not even that. There is a special fund that raises money from those who consume cinema as a product. First of all, the viewers who buy cinema tickets and those viewers who buy movies recorded on optical storages.
You mean licensed ones, not illegal?
Licensed, yes. The third category are people who stream movies online, on TV, and so on. This money goes to a certain fund, and then these funds are divided between film producers, streaming services, distributors, and so on. These industries are intertwined, and that's why they are working together.
Well done, France. I thought that the state simply finances funds and creates the conditions in order to protect those producers economically.
Well, as you see, what the state does, it provides this kind of intangible form of support. After all, half of the country's cinemas are art house cinemas. Art house status means that only selected films are shown there. Films that have a social significance to them, that are interesting for society. These are the films that are being promoted. And this entailed the fact that today the average viewer is over 50 years old. The average moviegoer. And this is amazing.
Why do young people refuse to watch those movies?
No, but the share of youth moviegoers is considerably smaller.
You are probably implying that in our case, the majority of viewers are young people, whereas adults don't go to cinemas that often?
Exactly. We have to bear in mind that this is adult generation that shapes any society.
A conscious generation.
Yes, it is them who shape the society. They make up the basis for the culture, for this interaction within the society. And that is a very interesting work.
It is a matter of social significance, isn't it?
Exactly. Above all, it is a social matter. And that is how it was executed by the French.
It is quite an achievement.
It is an achievement.
Let's now get back to our Kazakh culture. You have quite a broad perception of it. Where do you think we are moving? What opportunities do you think we possess? If I speak for myself, I can say that I received a lot of support from the state in terms of youth education, talented youth. I know that they are developing within our cultural institution. They have the opportunity to travel, stage new performances, prepare new programs, and collaborate. But this is what I know about the field of music. What can you say regarding this about the cultural process in the whole?
It is quite a challenging question.
I know that it is, yes. I answer simple questions and ask you complex ones.
Firstly, we appropriate the global culture, the trends that exist out there, because the means of communication have become so fast and powerful.
We can't alienate ourselves.
Yes, we cannot isolate ourselves from the world and the ideas that exist out there. They instantly become our ideas and our wealth as well. It's just that our culture is very original. It is very interesting. It has its own place. It has something to say. It has something to show. It has something to tell. And this should be the main trend in our perception of global culture, in the global world. Because the ideas that are inherent in us, they are always interesting. They are interesting to the world, and the world is open to us. I think this is the most important thing. We should not be afraid of this. We should not lock ourselves in, neither in our language nor in our ideas or mythology. All these issues need to be raised, and we have to become closer to the world.
But this fear of losing our authenticity in the process of globalization is very natural because some kind of standardization is happening now. All borders are collapsing, everything is becoming unified. How should we perceive this? Is our national culture's voice strong enough in order not to get lost in the choir of the world?
Национальной культуры, чтобы он не потерялся в хоре мира.
I think that we shouldn't be afraid of this, because there is always a room for authentic things in this world. Because authentic things are compelling. They instantly draw people's attention, right? It will never get lost and it will shine. It will glow. I'm just sure of that.
So you are not worried about it?
I'm not worried at all, because take, for instance, a galaxy of young film directors who enter the world of cinema. Our viewers do not even know any of them, but once such a galaxy of young people appears, they instantly become interesting to the world. From film festivals in Toronto and all the way to Tokyo. All over the world, our original language, our culture, our attitude becomes interesting in the world, and young people are not afraid of it. They boldly express their thoughts, and in the global world, the course of thoughts of people from this region, from this country, the way they think, it is really interesting to the world. People want to know if we share the same thoughts, us and the people from another world. That's why culture should evolve in this direction.
Хорошо, тогда расскажите о своей.
Okay, now tell me about the Kazakh side of your soul. It is a unique thing, right?
My Kazakh side stems from my parents. Whenever I think of it, I think it might be this Kizlorda culture.
Jirshi performers?
Jirshi and Terme performers. I've counted 5 types of folk performers within our region alone, namely Aral Kazalinsk, then Karmakchi, Sirdarya, Shieli Nartai, right? Zhana Korgan, Manap Kokenov is magnificent. Absolutely different types of Jirao and Terme performing arts coexist within one region. How on earth?
How did it happen?
How did it happen? It is incredible.
Jitisu and Saryarka manners of performance.
Yes, Jitisu and Saryarka.
And there is still even more divisions to it. And where does this come from? It's believed there is this basic idea that it was the way of life that dictated the development of improvisation and individual performance, individual manifestation. Therefore, there was no choir, no group dancing. In fact, what it was that philosophical conversation, poetic interpretation of reality made by a single person.
This is quite a theory. It is very compelling. It has to be developed further, I am sure. It can be very interesting to the world.
благодарю вас.
Thank you, Barujan,
Thank you.
Очередной раз
for this opportunity to talk to you again. And I hope we will continue with these conversations and, what is more important, actions, success for each in their own field.
Спасибо вам.
Thank you very much.